Folks, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Now, I know that I have told you all that my daughter is a writer, and boy, can she write. Well, I think I want to read to you her recent piece. She has a Substack, and she just published a piece that I think is phenomenal. So I'm going to read it to you. Okay, here you go. It is called Dispatch Number 15, American Luck, Remembering the Day I Saw a Rocket Ship and Everything Since. When I was 10, I looked up and saw a rocket ship. It was recess. Across the schoolyard, about 50 games were well underway, but when the ship appeared, luminous, gaping, moving parallel and low to the ground, everything hung still. Our heads tilted skyward, our little necks tautened and held us there, slack-jawed, tracking the black underbelly as it slid over the sun. This was September 2012, and the ship was the Endeavour, an orbiter shuttle built to replace the Challenger. The shuttle flew 25 missions in its lifetime, including the first service mission to the Hubble Space Telescope. What we saw from the schoolyard was the Endeavour on its retirement tour, the last for a shuttle in NASA's history. Strapped to the back of a modified Boeing 747 aircraft, it crisscrossed California on its way to its final resting place in Los Angeles. The shuttle must have appeared over my school just before flying past the Golden Gate Bridge. I didn't know any of this until much later, and the addition of context does nothing to dull the adrenal freeze of that moment 12 years on. One of the sturdiest features of the apocalypse across cultures is the appearance of something in the sky that should not be there. By the time of the Endeavour's flight on the 21st of September, the schoolyard was already abuzz with speculation that the world would end in 3 months, on December 21st, 2012. This theory hinged on the fact that this date marked the end of the 13th Baktun, a period of 144,000 days that made up the Mayan long count calendar. According to the Maya, the gods created 3 failed worlds before succeeding with the 4th, the one we occupy. In the Mayan long count, the 3rd world ended after the 13 Baktuns. Anthropologist Michael D. Coe, writing in 1966, extrapolated that the Maya believed Armageddon would overtake the degenerate peoples of the world and all creation on the final day of the 13th Baktun. Although disputed by plenty of scholars and prominent Maya in the intervening decades, Coe's theory retained enough doomish luster to warrant dusting off in the early 2010s, a doomish time by any stretch, and repurposing for party themes, conspiracist podcasts, and careful consideration by children. I can't confirm that I was envisioning Mesoamerican-style cataclysm when I saw the Endeavour's winged shadow, but the mix of awe and dread, the nightmare feeling that you must run even as your blood turns to slush, brought me closer to the brink of experience than I had words to describe. The previous year had come with a tsunami warning triggered by an earthquake off the coast of Japan. The tsunami never materialized in the San Francisco Bay. It came for Fukushima instead, wreaking destruction on an irrevocable scale. As a 9-year-old, however, I didn't know that disaster had struck somewhere else. Or maybe I did know, and it simply didn't register. Disaster could threaten, their silhouette could brush past, but ultimately they were the provenance of somewhere else, and the aborted saga of the San Francisco tsunami proved it. Except that in the case of the Endeavour, the feeling stayed with me long after the silhouette had brushed past, long after the bell rang and we returned breathless to our classrooms. In fact, it stays with me as I Google pictures of the shuttle to refresh my memory. At first, the images taken from far away and high up are almost cute. The Endeavour perches on top of the Boeing craft in 2/3 miniature, reminding me of a child on a pony ride from a parent. Surely a sight like this wouldn't instill terror. But then there's this picture. 2 hulking ghosts, ferryman and passenger, seen from above. They're crossing the river with holes for eyes, but where are we? Sunk beneath them? What's happened to us, that we're neither heard nor seen, that we cannot cross too? It's this feeling that comes on slowly, that cannot be voiced by a child. For 7 years I had no occasion to try to describe it. Until one day in senior year, it was assumed that a man carrying an AK-style gun onto my high school football field had the same intentions as other men who carry guns into high schools, and there was a lockdown, and I crouched between the seats of our theater in the round and counted the doors. 4 to the stage below, 2 to the balcony above, and dialed my mother. It is the feeling of the deer in the trap, hours before the hunter comes. It is the feeling that something was missed, that someone, somewhere has made a terrible mistake, and they've got the wrong man. It couldn't be you who has run out of luck. As it happens, the gun was an airsoft with the orange tip blacked out. The man brought it on campus to make a Snapchat video. 2 months later, the day before I was supposed to perform my final show in that same theater, the world went on a lockdown of its own, and it was not lost on me that this virtually guaranteed I would survive high school. It is this feeling that I recognized deep in my stomach several weeks ago, as the Boeing 747 carrying myself and my boyfriend Will and many other people with hundreds of years of collectively amassed luck climbed, heaving, into the sky above Los Angeles. From the window, I watched the wings judder up and down, and some terrified, bird-brained part of me thought for a moment that the machine had seized control of itself, flapping in a mad attempt at life. I sat caught, imagining the city we had come from, an expanse of sprawling asphalt that was all too easy to crash into. But the moment passed. We crossed the country without incident, landing smoothly in D.C. and emerging into suspended blue twilight. When Will checked Twitter, we discovered that while we'd hung in the air, Los Angeles had burned. The wind that bore us trembling into the clouds was the Santa Ana, brushing past on its way to devastation. The fire began 15 minutes after we took off. 2 of his friends had already lost their homes. The shadow crosses more and more frequently now, and always closer. Last week, a plane crashed into the Potomac River. The unimaginable, the thing in the sky that should not be, quickens as it grows. It is easier to bring about the end than the beginning. We are watching this on the Potomac's banks as shadows tear through the government, shadows that resolve into ridiculous little boys and then dissipate again, into systems and code and locked buildings at night. Again, I find myself rooted to the spot, bloodless, wordless, feeling for the first time that we are not the lucky ones, graced as we are with forgetting most of the time. Each shadow is cast by men. I don't dread the ones to come any less. Yeah, that is my 22-year-old daughter writing about the state of the world. And you should all subscribe to her Substack. And you should watch her as she grows and writes some more. Because she is a spectacular person. And she has a lot to say. So, anywho, let me know what you guys think. Love ya.